Welcome to Generations of X, a podcast where we discuss the past, present, and future of all things X-Men. I'm your co-host, the uncanny Dayspring.
And I am the adjectiveless Flinkman.
And folks, we have a very fun guest with us today. It's none other than Warpath Dylan, co-host of the House of X podcast. What's going on, Dylan?
Not much. I'm super excited to be here. I don't know why you thought I was special enough to be a guest, but I'm happy to be here.
Because today we're going to be savage as fuck and throw mad shade at Hank McCoy, a.k.a. Beast. And we thought, who better than Warpath Dylan?
Yay. We actually have an episode that I titled Fucking Beast because when Regina and I recorded it and then I went to edit it, I was like, wait, we just said fucking beast like 8 times in this episode. That's going to be the title.
So appropriate. And I do have to give a shout out to 2 of my friends, Mackie and Courtney. They actually gave us feedback from our first episode that they wanted to hear more about why we hated Beast. So let's give them all the reasons.
Courtney and Mackie, he's a fucking sociopath.
And we'll tell you why.
Okay, but first, let's get to know our guest, Warpath Dylan. I've been listening to you for a while now. You and Regina are just amazing, and your chemistry is palpable. Why start a podcast? Why did you guys start a podcast together?
Well, I have a Facebook group of the same name that's called House of X, and Regina and I were friends in there, and she helps me admin and moderate it. And I was a part of a different podcast for a while, and I asked Regina to join me there. And then we eventually left that podcast and started our own. And just like you guys, we just like to talk about X-Men a lot, and people like to hear us. And so, yeah. And also, I just wanted to point out my Facebook group that's called House of X. We actually had the name first.
Before Hickman.
Yeah, we had it for like almost 2 years before Hickman announced that thing. And I was actually at C2E2 when that was announced, but I didn't go to the X-Men panel. But there was a bunch of my members there. And like, I was at C2E2 walking around, and then my phone started blowing up, and everyone's like, we should sue Marvel. And I'm like, no, we can't. I stole House of X from House of M, so no, we can't.
Wait, did you see, because you have like a zillion followers on that group, did you see a huge spike after House of X was announced?
Yeah, I would say within a month, we got like 400 new members.
Wow.
And
gnarly.
Yeah.
You guys have such a positive environment there, which is so uncanny for an X-Men group. I mean, we're savage. I mean, X-Men fans, we're savage.
Yes.
But you guys, like, you have this, like, it's such a fun group. Like, people are like, post a picture and I'll cast you as an X-Man, or tell me some hard X truths. And no one fights. Everyone is just so amicable and lovely.
It's not always that way, but usually it is, because we're pretty quick to get rid of trolls and homophobes.
I don't mess with
that.
with Facebook at this point, but that sounds pleasant. Maybe I'll give it another shot.
It is pretty nice. We have a bunch of admins from all over the world, so I think that helps. So if some of us are asleep and something crazy happens, there's somebody else in a different time zone or country that can take care of it.
So let's get into your history with X-Men. What's your earliest memory of X-Men?
I would say my earliest memory is probably just seeing a comic book at a grocery store, and mainly watching my brother look at comic books, because I have an older brother, and he would just get comics and read them, and then I would just look at the pictures because I didn't want to read. I could read. It's not like I was illiterate, but I didn't want to read them. I just looked at the pictures. And yeah, I remember he had some like X-Men classics, and Mohawk Storm caught my attention, because I was just like,
yes,
why is this superhero have a mohawk? Like, she's not Batman or super. Why doesn't she have a cape? Like, I don't know what this is, but I like it.
I mean, what gay man's intro to X-Men wasn't through Storm?
And then I think a few years later, because those were like older classics, so she was already like in her 90s suit by that time. But I remember I bought my first 2 comics before I went on a trip with my grandparents, and it was a X-Men Unlimited #1 and X-Force 24. And the X-Force 24 had a big group shot, and Warpath was in the middle, and it was just this big muscly dude, and
You're like daddy.
Even as a kid, I was like, I want him, and then I became obsessed with him. So yeah.
So is he your favorite X-Man?
I mean, Storm was my first favorite just because she was my intro, but like, yes, Warpath is like my absolute favorite, and Monet, but Warpath is like,
yes, Monet.
Yeah. Warpath is number one. That's why my name is Warpath.
I am
Dylan.
a huge Monet fan. Yeah. Huge.
Mike, should we talk about the search for M? Should we tease it?
We should. Yeah. So I don't know if Dayspring has told you, but this upcoming week's episode, we actually are interviewing Heather McComb and Randall Slavin from the Generation X TV movie, Jubilee and Refrax. And they say the only thing preventing them from doing a full cast reunion is they can't find
Amaryllis or
Suzanne Davis, who plays Buff, and then Amaryllis, who plays M. So we are definitely going to kick off the hunt for M, and we're going to get all the gay nerds searching the world for Amaryllis. We have to find her.
And that episode, listener, is live right now. So go ahead and check it out. It's a really fun interview. Heather and Jubilee and Refrax discuss their experience on set. One of them may have been on the X-Men 1 set, and we talk a lot about the comics, and it's great.
That's awesome. Yeah. I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah. So what was your favorite crossover for the X-Men?
It might be because I'm a little biased with Monet, but I really like the Phalanx Covenant. But it's not just because of Monet. It's because I like not the main stars of X-Men. So, I mean, the Phalanx Covenant had most of the X-Men out of commission, and you had to deal with like X-Factor and Excalibur and X-Force. So they were basically trying to save the day, and then the Generation X kids were introduced. So I like that just because like Cyclops and Jean and Storm were not the main focus.
I totally agree. I have always thought that I don't want to call them secondary because to me they're not secondary at all, but like those secondary X characters are so much more interesting than the A-listers in my opinion. And Phalanx Covenant is just a classic. It was probably the first crossover I read. So yeah, I'm totally with you on that one.
Yeah, I love that arc where they're at the mansion and Banshee notices something's up and they have to go on the run. And Emma, of course, has a fabulous like chateau in San Francisco because why wouldn't she?
Of course.
And what does Jubilee say? Jubilee's like, this is nicer than a TGI Fridays or whatever the heck.
Yeah.
She's just like so. I was reading that and Jubilee may be my second like X-Men that I think is the worst because the things she was saying to Emma, she's here like, oh, Frosty, is this why the Hellions died? I'm like, you are like 14. Do not talk to your teacher like that.
She's a smart ass. That's like the whole appeal of Jubilee. I can't believe you said that.
Hard
Jubilee
truth.
Are you going to say that to Heather?
Yeah.
No. Heather was very infectious. I mean, she was so incredibly lovely. And so was Randall. They were just so great. All right. So Warpath Dylan, follow him on Instagram, join the House of X Facebook group because it's awesome, and listen to his podcast. Him and Regina are phenomenal, and they are just a fanboy and a fangirl fanning around talking about the latest issues of our merry band of mutants. Did I get your tag right?
Yes. Regina loves saying that. I think she said it like on our first episode and then our third. And then like when we were recording the fourth, I was like, can you do the fangirl thing? And she's like, why? And I was like, because it sounds awesome. Just do it every episode.
I love fanning around. That's the best.
Dude, I'm like jogging, listening to you guys. I was jogging like 8 miles the other day and I was just listening to your episodes. I'm like, yeah, fanning around. Like it was.
That's my new term for what I do.
All right, so we're all here today to trash talk Hank McCoy, aka the Beast. But before we start trash talking him, I thought, why don't we do a little trivia on Beast? And by doing trivia, I mean I'm going to ask you both some questions, and the winner gets a very gnarly prize that I'm going to email to them. Ooh.
I'm prepared to lose.
I was going to say I might lose.
When it comes to Beast,
no.
We're both not going to know
these
any
are going to be
answers.
so easy. These are going to be easy questions.
That's what you said last time, and I got them all wrong.
All right, Flinkman and Warpath Dylan, how well do you know the Beast? Question number 1, who played Beast in X3?
Kelsey Grammer.
I was going to say Frasier. His name was escaping me.
I mean, that is
Frasier
who
is
he
acceptable. Frasier is acceptable. Okay.
Acceptable answer.
Who played him in the prequels?
Nicholas Hoult.
I don't know that actor's name.
I only know because he was on Skins and he was half naked all the time, and I was in love with him prior to him being cast as Beast. So love for Nicholas.
Okay. What color is his fur when he first transforms into his beastly appearance?
Gray.
Blue?
Oh, gray.
How do I know more about Beast than I thought I did?
Did you say gray?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, he did.
True
I
or
block Beast history out of my mind, so that's why I'm going to lose.
This is very surprising to me.
True or false? Beast pretended to be gay during Grant Morrison's new X-Men run.
True.
True.
Whose side was he on during AVX?
Initially, the Avengers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry.
You're both right. Did his iconic line, "Oh my stars and garters," debut in X-Men, Defenders, or Avengers?
I'm gonna guess Avengers because that's the only time he's ever been tolerable.
Maybe the Defenders. I don't think it was X-Men.
It was Avengers. Wow. It was Avengers. Okay. What state is Beast originally from?
Illinois.
Yes, right there.
Wouldn't have got that.
What is the name of Beast's voice actor in the animated series?
George Buzza? I know it's Buza, however you pronounce that.
Do you know how to pronounce it, Dylan?
I don't know. No.
I think, yeah, I say George Buzza, but it's probably Buzza. George
Who
Buzza.
knows?
Okay. What role did he play in X1, though?
How do I want to? He was the truck driver that drove Rogue to Canada.
Yes. When Rogue was like, "I thought we were going as far as Lachlan City," and you're like,
This is Lachlan City.
And I didn't know it was him. It was only until later that I found out it was him.
Oh
And I
my
thought that
God.
was such
How did
an
you not
iconic
recognize that voice? I knew right away.
Okay. And our last question. Name 2 of Beast's love interests.
Abigail Brandon, Cecilia Reyes.
Yes, right
Trish
there.
Tilby.
Trish Tilby. Oh, Trish.
Oh, Trish.
I don't
Trish
know
is
who
trash.
won because I wasn't really keeping score. So
I think Flinkman won.
I think everybody's a winner here.
everyone's a winner. So what you both get is this gnarly fan art of Beast getting his haircut with Wolverine, and they go to the same barber. Yes,
Yay.
right there. Boom.
What a prize. What a prize.
What a prize. Congratulations. So today's X-Men, we're going to talk about how Beast is the worst X-Men ever, and we're going to give all of our reasons. But I think we should give him a fair trial first. Do you fellas agree?
Why not?
I mean, like, look, I just think, like, maybe if we're going to rag on this, like, terrible, terrible person, we should give a little back history on him.
I suppose if you want people to be informed,
This is a very diplomatic podcast.
we're
Yeah,
very
look. I'm all about throwing shade and opening up the library, but this isn't a kangaroo court. Like, we have to give Beast some background for our listeners who probably are like, what the fuck? Why are you hating on Beast? Because I think his like 90s animated appearance is pretty gnarly. I really liked him in it.
Yeah.
It's the only good Beast.
And the movie wasn't great, but Frasier was a perfect casting as Beast, and I wish that the movie had been better because he looked great and he was great. He just didn't do anything.
How can you hate on Frasier?
You can't.
You can't.
Anyway, so I have compiled a history on Beast. I used a lot of my back issues and I cross-referenced it with like a lot of Wikipedias. But I also just want to shout out UncannyXmen.net because I've been reading them for since I was like 19.
I think this year is their 20th anniversary, and I've probably been reading them for at least 15 of those years, at least.
Yeah, and
This morning before I came on here. I was like, I'm going to go check uncannyxmen.net real quick, just so I can refresh my memory on some Beast things too. So
yeah, and a lot of like my root knowledge on Beast comes from reading their bio pages for years. So I can't even like separate what I just read naturally and what I've picked up on uncannyxmen.net. So I just want to give them the full amount of credit because they're so thorough, so much better than Wikipedia's.
Let's do it. Let's give them
Okay.
some history.
Okay. Flinkman, I just need 2 minutes to recap Beast's history. Can I have 2 minutes?
You have 2 minutes. We'll see if you can actually fit it all in. Start the timer.
Born to Norden and Edna in Dunphy, Illinois, Hank's mutation was evident from the moment of birth. His monstrous hands, feet, and agility made him an easy target at the school ground until he was recruited by the XMen, where he spent the later part of his teen years fighting the Master of Magnetism, becoming a foot god to a beatnik cult at Coffee A Go-Go, and because this was the 60s, lusting over Jean Grey.
What a creep.
Overwhelmed by anti-mutant hysteria, he was about to do us all a favor and quit the X-Men, but was interrupted by his time-traveling, sociopathic future self that told him, and the rest of the O5, that in order to save the future from Scott Summers' mutant genocide, they'd have to come with him to the future.
So reckless.
That's an entire saga in of itself, but the O5 eventually returned to the present day, and Beast makes good on his promise to quit the X-Men as he originally threatened and becomes a wrestler. But don't get too excited, true believers. Beast is the X-Men's answer to Jen Brady, and in just a few short issues, he's back on the team. He stayed on the team for a while, got a costume upgrade, dated Mimic's ex-girlfriend, and then decided he no longer wanted to be one of the strangest teens of all and took a job at the Brand Corporation.
Nerd alert.
To develop his biochemical skills, and this is where, in an attempt to foil his evil boss, downs a mutant-enhancing elixir and becomes the Grey Beast. He eventually joins the Avengers after they have an open call for members on TV, and in Avengers 137, his iconic catchphrase, "Oh, my stars and garters," is coined, and forever making him sound like an obnoxious grandpa that not even a basic bitch with a pumpkin spice latte would invite to lunch at Panera Bread. The only good thing he does with the Avengers during this time is introduce Patsy Walker, aka Hellcat, to the team, but in a disgusting turn of events becomes a sex symbol after swarms of fan mail piles into the Marvel office.
People in the Marvel universe have such low standards.
That is so fucking gross. His time on the Avengers outweighs his time with the X-Men, and he only reunites with his former team members twice during this era. Once, when he and Jean battled Magneto and thought the rest of the X-Men perished. Second, when Jean died during the Dark Phoenix saga. Both times, he just waltzes back into the Avengers mansion and gets lit as fuck with his one true BFF, Wonder Man. He then joins Defenders, and I guess stuff happens, but he dooms the team when he appoints Candy Southern in charge of the team. He then joins X-Factor, is captured on his second mission, and given a serum to cure mutation, which only eliminated his blue fur, and he's all happy about it and doesn't give a fuck what this scientific breakthrough means for his community.
Selfish.
After fighting the 4 Horsemen of Apocalypse, he's touched by pestilence, and this, combined with the serum, start making him dumber each time he uses his powers.
As if he wasn't dumb enough already.
A kiss from the mutant Infecta made him fluffy again, and he kept his intelligence and began dating Trish Tibley. He rejoins the X-Men during the iconic Jim Lee era, where he becomes a pompous jerk thinking he can cure the legacy virus, but oh no, Ileana dies, and he's like, curing the mutant equivalent of AIDS is much harder than I thought, even for a genius such as myself. And that's what he does for most of the 90s, trying to cure the legacy virus to the point no one cared when he was abducted and replaced by Dark Beast. No one noticed. Not Jean, not Betsy. He later escapes, finds a cure for the legacy virus at the expense of Colossus's life, joins Storm's ragtag team, fights Vargas and loses. He returns to the X-Men after Sage saves his life, and Storm is like, "Get the fuck out, you're worthless," and becomes Cat Beast.
Meow. Hello, kitty.
Grant Morrison's new X-Men saga ensues, and Beast is established as a bipolar scientist who says he's gay and found a cure for humanity going extinct, both of which are lies. We see in a dystopian future he becomes a biblical beast possessed by Sublime, scourges the earth, but once again, Jean Grey saves the universe and the timeline is erased.
Take Beast with it.
By the time we reach the astonishing era, Beast meets his future love interest, Abigail Brand. House of M ensues, and Beast is absolutely useless in trying to find a way to reverse Wanda's No More Mutant spell.
Beast? Useless? What else is new?
He starts X-Club, hates on Cyclops for starting X-Force, even though he'll join the Secret Avengers, and then blames him for Nightcrawler's death. Because Beast is a treacherous bastard, he sides with the Inhumans as a Terrigen Mist kills mutants and suggests they evacuate the planet. Because that's a reasonable plan from a scientist. But Thank God the goddess known as Emma Frost solves the Terrigen problem for him. Oh, and where is he now? He's on X-Force, where he not only lies and manipulates to his fellow teammates, but also patronizes the one true X-Man, Jean Grey.
Hypocrite.
So that's his history in a nutshell. And fellas, can I ask you a quick question?
Shoot.
Where in that entire long-winded history did I say he went to school to get his PhD? Where?
You didn't. You didn't say anything.
Okay, so this is my number one reason for hating Beast. Because you have Dr. Reyes, you have Mr. Sinister, you have Xavier, you have Doctor Strange. Their medical journey, them getting their PhD, is a large part of their character and their history. And Beast just shows up one day in Avengers and is like, oh yeah, I got a degree. I got a PhD in biochemical engineering.
Fake doctor.
Yeah, it's like he went to the first online college or something. That it just came out of nowhere.
Are you saying he went to Phoenix University?
Oh, I was going to say that.
All right, guys. Dylan, since you're the guest, why do you hate Beast?
Anyone listening to what you just said, that's every reason why to hate him. He has done nothing to help mutants or really heroes in general. He bounces around but I mean, his main thing has always been trying to either cure something that's affecting the X-Men or cure mutants anyway to get rid of their mutant gene. No, nothing about him is good. And the only part of his history that I like that you just mentioned was when he was replaced by Dark Beast, because Dark Beast is amazing.
You look like you're going to say something, Mike.
No. I was going to ask. I have a whole laundry list, so you just let me know. You just let me know.
I'm my pinwheels in my eyes are just spinning right now. Okay, Flinkman, why do you hate Beast?
God,
we talk about this all the time.
It's so hard to choose when there's close to 60 years worth of reasons to hate Beast. But before I get into those reasons, I do want to say that this can't be a debate. Nobody can argue with this, because it's absolute canon that Beast is the worst, because even the Watcher, a being who's supposed to be the most neutral person in the entire universe, literally told Beast that he disgusted him. So it's inarguable. You can't argue it. But if you did want to argue it, I would counter. Really, for me, was his whole attitude during the San Francisco and Utopia era. He was just so holier than thou and so hypocritical. And after everything the X-Men had been through to that point, he still didn't understand why Cyclops assembled, the all-new stabby version of X-Force. He still didn't understand why Nightcrawler was willing to die and to protect Hope, and had to blame that on Cyclops too. And that really was especially obnoxious later after Schism, when he's like, oh, I can forgive you, Logan, the one who actually did the stabbing and the murdering on behalf of Cyclops, but I definitely could never forgive Cyclops. But sure, I'll be your vice principal. He's such a hypocrite. Especially when you consider that in spite of all that X-Force business, he himself was a member of the Secret Avengers and then later the Illuminati. And for those who don't know, the Secret Avengers were essentially the Avengers version of X-Force, and the Illuminati was the big brains of the Marvel Universe, thinking they know better than everybody and acting on behalf of the entire multiverse. So real low-key team stuff that wasn't hypocritical, at all. Let's see what else. Oh, yeah. So speaking of the Illuminati, there was an Avengers arc where they were responsible for the destruction of multiple worlds in the multiverse. I think it was Time Runs Out. I'm no Avengers.
Yeah, it was expert. Before Secret Avengers. Secret Wars.
Yeah.
It's Alita. Hickman wrote that, didn't he?
I think
he did. He did. So Beast and the Illuminati wiped out all of these multiple worlds.
Of course he did.
He'd only contributed to that, but let us not forget that by that point, he had already wiped out one parallel universe all on his own during Warren Ellis and Simone Bianchi's Astonishing X-Men. But, sure, Cyclops is the villain. Cyclops is too far gone. Cyclops must be held accountable.
And just to add to that, him going back and getting the O5, like he decided that he was himself, without telling anyone, is going to mess with the timeline that everyone's in.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
He's not only going to go back and mess with the timeline, he's going to get a bunch of 16-year-olds, lie to them, and abduct them and bring them to the future. And that is one of my big sins for him. He literally tells Teen Jean, a teenage girl, look at you. I didn't think this was going to be so hard seeing you. Like, of course she's going to get it. She dies. And you're going to tell 16-year-old girl she's destined to die. What?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, even Young Beast is a selfish disaster. Like, if you think about it, this is real personal for you, Dayspring. How many people died in Miami when he fooled around with dark magic he didn't understand and unleashed an alternate universe Goblin Queen?
Like, my abuela could have been there. My abuela.
And a Goblin Queen he also later betrayed his teammates to secretly collaborate with. And I mean, was that just because Teen Jean has the good sense to give him the cold shoulder and he thought he'd trade up for the older, hotter, more evil model? I mean, seriously, fuck that.
Wait. His relationship, Teen Beast with Teen Jean, Battle of the Atom, she reaches out to him first because, you know, she's looking at him. They just kiss. They have some kind of rapport going on. And she's here like, Hank, I have a really bad feeling about this. Oh, I don't know why, because you're going to die one day and the person who kills you is right in front of you, the mask, you know, Zornita, or was it Zornita or Zorna?
It was Zorna. And of course you're going to freak out. Like, be with your friend Beast, take her out of that room. And he's here like, no, Jean, let's listen to what they have to say. She's like, I can't read their thoughts. And he's here like, oh, that's because it's Xavier's son. Like, what the fuck? Like, why are you the worst? Like, your friend is literally having a panic attack. Take her out of the room. Sorry. That's a little bit of my Jean craziness coming out. Just a slight bit of Jean cray.
But, you know, to that point, though, what you were saying, Flickman, like, he always betrays those he loves or that love him. I think with Messiah Complex in particular, we knew that Scott Summers' main goal was to reignite the mutant race. He was going to lay everything on the line because a fellow Avenger wiped them out, and now it was up to Scott to save the day. And Beast, like, what did he do during Endangered Species? Just meandered, did not find an answer. And who's the one who actually saves the day? Cyclops, because he knew the Phoenix was going to come and rebirth the mutant race.
Yeah, and I mean, at least when Cyclops did it, everyone knew what he was doing. Beast, when he was trying to do everything in Endangered Species, was doing it by himself and not telling anyone. And like even talking to evil people like Sinister and Dark Beast and Spiral by himself and not telling the rest of the X-Men.
Yeah, no. But Cyclops is the bad guy, you know? Cyclops keeping something from him is like this huge disaster. It's so, The
then,
fact that he sided against the X-Men in both AVX and IVX is just unforgivable.
So at the end of AVX, this is where I realized I hated Beast. Like, it legitimately hated him was at the end of AVX when Cyclops is in prison and he's going to be moved, you know, to wherever he was going to go. Beast is like, Cyclops, everything you've done, like these new mutants that are emerging are going to have issues. And Cyclops is like, what do you mean new mutants? And he's here like, Cyclops, this is hardly the time. And Scott is like, no, you need to tell me. Are there new mutants, Hank? He goes, yeah, your plan worked. The Phoenix repopulated the mutants, and new mutants are sprouting up around the world. And Cyclops is so happy. And I'm like, you're such a dick, man. You are such a dick. This is your childhood best friend who was trying to save your species from going extinct. And you just casually mention the mutants are back? Fuck off.
Yeah. And like, you know, sort of in reference to that whole Phoenix thing, like he was so against the Phoenix Five. Like he was such a douche about everything that happened while Cyclops was possessed by the Phoenix. But then, you know, a couple years later during the Black Vortex crossover with Guardians of the Galaxy, he like skipped right over the debate with his teammates and the Guardians and just like unilaterally decided that he was going to assume the omnipotent space power of the Black Vortex without telling anybody. Like he takes on a questionable cosmic power akin to the Phoenix, not knowing what the hell it's going to do. And he's just like, oh, it's okay because I'm doing it. Whereas the Phoenix Five were powered by accident. They didn't have a choice. My blood pressure.
He sided with the Avengers, and Tony Stark blew up the Phoenix without knowing anything about the Phoenix, not having any history with it, and the Phoenix fragments and goes into 5 of his teammates. Violates them. It violates his teammates, and he doesn't care. The same way it violated Jean Grey, and he does not give a flying fuck. Your thoughts, Dylan?
I mean, I know he's written to be this way, but if Beast was a real character, I feel like it was almost jealousy that he wasn't one of the 5 that was chosen. So, yeah.
He wants to put himself at the front of everything. So yeah, I totally agree with you. He was super jealous that he didn't get selected to be a Phoenix host, I'm sure.
So another reason why I hate him is that he's an anthropomorphic ape, cat, werewolf, whatever, who uses bombastic language to convey simple statements. If he was as fabulous as Myra Rose, then I'd be like, okay, fine, fair, pass. But saying things like, I believe the technology involves molecular dispersal and reconstitution, or another line, thermomolecularly enhanced caffeine extract. Like, dude, just say you were teleported and just say you want a cup of coffee. That's it. Like, I don't understand. Like, using this bombastic language does not make you a smart person. It makes you a raging sociopath who literally does not know how to communicate basic thoughts.
He's a fake doctor, so he has to pretend that he's smart. He has to cover it up.
Yeah.
So where did he get his PhD? I've been looking, listeners, if you know exactly where he got his PhD, like, let us know. I looked it up. Where does everyone go in the Marvel Universe? Like Empire State College. Like him and Mary Jane are just sitting down like in a PhD class, and she's like, "Face it, Tiger." I mean, like, I don't know where did he get his degree?
I mean, I think there was even in that a few years ago when they were doing the X-Men Origins, and we got to like see a little retconned history of when Xavier got Beast, and then like made Beast's family forget that he existed or something like that. But that was in high school. Yeah. When did you go to college?
So I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's the other reason why I hate him too, was he had his girlfriend, Jen, who was like his BFF when he was being bullied at school, and Xavier mind wipes her to forget that he ever existed. And I'm sorry, I'm a 16, 17-year-old kid. You mind wipe my friend, I'm going to throw a tantrum. Like, you do not fuck. Like, a teacher doing that to my friend? No.
Yeah, but Beast didn't have a problem with it, so he is messed up.
So not only so he betrays his childhood love, his best friend growing up. He's just a stupid asshole. And let's not forget, he also betrayed Xavier during Extreme X-Men when Storm was like, I don't think we should trust Xavier. Beast did not put up a fight about that. Like, look, I get it. Storm has a more complicated history with Xavier, but for Beast, Xavier is your childhood teacher. He has been someone who's made questionable decisions, but you should know him by now. And he just like, yeah, Xavier's the worst, and then goes off with Storm.
Yeah, and fails spectacularly in assisting that team in any real way. Like, he's the only thing he does is hold Psylocke while she's dying, like, and get the shit beat out of him. Useless, just useless.
I will say there's one thing he is good at, and that is them introducing women to be a love interest, and then the love interest being really amazing. And that's about it.
I could go on and on about one forced love interest in particular, and of course,
which one is it?
That would be Dazzler.
Shocking.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, in the mid-'80s, there was a 4-issue miniseries called Beauty and the Beast. It starred Dazzler and Beast, obviously, and it was published after the Dazzler solo series was canceled. And at this point, the events of Dazzler the movie had already happened, and the general public knew she was a mutant and that she had fallen from grace. And this series sort of just chronicles the aftermath of that, and it has Dazzler re-entering the celebrity scene, and where she comes across Beast and Wonder Man at some Hollywood party. And from there, just kind of out of nowhere, he gets all weird and protective about her. They develop romantic feelings for one another, or something. And all the while, they're getting wrapped up in this like weird gladiator tournament involving Dr. Doom's alleged son. It's just like this truly bizarre story that could have been interesting if it was literally any other character besides Beast that Dazzler was with. the villains were drugging her in this miniseries, so I'm just going to go ahead and assume that that's why she was into him and why she never, ever, ever was into him again afterwards.
I mean, to be fair, in that Dazzler series that got canceled before, almost every issue she had a new love interest.
It's true.
So...
It's true. And the only one worth mentioning, in my opinion, is Angel. I think Dazzler and Angel, they would have such beautiful babies, but she can't do that to Betsy at this point. She can't have her BFF sloppy seconds. But of course, that whole miniseries was meant to be a segue for Dazzler to join Beast, Cyclops, Angel, and Iceman as the 5th member of the original X Factor. But we all know what happened there. Some, irrelevant ginger was raised from the dead to take her place.
Oh my gosh. And the X-Men have been the better for it since.
And Dazzler disappeared for a whole decade.
So are you saying Jean Grey is the reason Dazzler is not an A-list X-Man?
100%. Everything is Jean's fault. Cyclops and Magneto were right, and Jean Grey was wrong.
I'm going to agree with Flinkman.
No! No!
Jean sucks!
We're not going to segue in. This is not an I Hate Jean episode. I don't know what you guys are doing.
The Beast episode becomes Hate Jean.
Yeah, we're going to just go ahead and commandeer this episode. It has now become an I Hate Jean fest.
You know what? I was gonna save this particular one, why I hate Beast, till later. But you know what? I think I'm just gonna deflect now and say, you know what I hate most of what he did, and he would not get away with it in today's world, when he pretended to be gay during Grant Morrison's new X-Men run.
But if he had been gay, I would totally ship him and Wonder Man. Come on. They were so gay in the 80s.
I remember I was taking a feminist theory class when that issue came out. Or no, I was rereading it when I was taking that class. And it just made sense that Beast would be gay. I liked it. I thought it added some weight to his character.
Can I just say that is so encapsulating of the differences between you and me as an X-Men fan? You're like, well, I was taking feminist theory, and through that lens, this is how I view Beast. And I'm just like, he's a douche.
Well, you look at, I'm just thinking of deconstructing him as a character, and he's had all of these love interests. He historically was a sex symbol, but if you break him down, in this post-structuralist, mentality, just to his, gender roles, him being gay just redefines everything of what he was, and it gives him more context to his character, much like how they did with Bobby Drake. Even though I feel like Bobby had those hints throughout his history. I mean, that was pretty clear. But Beast just lying about his sexuality and just one day being like, "Oh, hey, yeah, I'm gay." Okay, I think that just reignites a little bit more of a passion for the character. I think it makes him more interesting.
I would agree with what you just said. A lot of the reasons why it makes sense that Iceman is gay, besides the not so subtle subtext that they had, but a lot of reasons that why Iceman is gay could definitely be used for Beast and why he should be gay.
Yeah, for sure. They both have questionable dating histories where it's did they really love this person, or were they just using them for some reason? But Beast never wore purple jeans in a chain wallet in the 90s, so I can see how they picked Iceman.
But speaking of Grant Morrison's new X-Men run, when I was rereading the back issues for this episode, there was this one scene in particular that pissed me off. And that's when he and Emma are stranded in the ocean, and Emma's like, "I feel something." And Beast is like, "Are you sure it's not another speck on your contact lens again?" And I was like, "You motherfucker, do not question Emma Frost at all."
I have to say, the one good thing I'm going to give, I don't know if you're going to ask me to say one nice thing about Beast, but I'm going to say one nice thing about Beast. At least he put Emma back together during Murder of the Nation.
No, he didn't. He did not.
Jean fused her.
Jean said, "Open up your mind, picture it like a pink door, and let me read all those his medical books." And she is the one who infused Emma back.
Who took the time to get all of the diamond pieces together and reassemble her on the table?
Who found her lips? Who found her lips?
I'm just saying.
Jean was
I'm giving this one to Beast. I'm giving it to Beast.
It's not Beast. Beast cared the most. I'll give it to you that Beast cared the most about reassembling Emma.
Jean would not have gone through the effort of finding every single shard of diamond to
Of course not,
reassemble
but
her.
Jean wouldn't go through the effort of restarting the timeline and psychically pushing her husband to be with Emma. No, Jean didn't care at all.
I'm just saying, for the purposes of this, Beast accomplished one positive thing in his entire life.
I want to say that one scene that you brought up about Emma and Beast in the ocean, I've told people multiple times, I wish she just would have killed him. Nobody would have known it. She could have drowned him and then like used his body to float. I wish it would have happened.
Made a fabulous blue coat out of him.
She would have dyed it white. She would have dyed the fur white.
Bleach!
Okay, another reason why I hate him, during Defenders, and Valkyrie was like, I think I should be the leader. Hank was like, no, I should be the leader. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm in a room with Valkyrie, a literal goddess. I'm not going to question her authority to lead the Defenders. Like, it makes more sense that she would lead the Defenders.
Right, like she's a Valkyrie who leads a horde of Valkyrie, and
yeah, like
Valkyries
it's her
into
job.
hell to defeat like evil demon shit. Like, what does Beast have over that? A fake doctorate?
Yeah, it's like literally her job. Like, you're just the brains. Just shut up and stay in the background.
Just shut up and go to your lab.
And I thought, when I was reading that and sort of piecing his history together, I was like, is Beast a little misogynistic? Because, okay, so he challenges Valkyrie's authority, and then when Betsy comes back to life and he's giving her that examination, do you guys know the scene?
Yeah, it's a bit
Then
rapey.
he licks her. He's here like, you look the same and taste the same. And I was like, oh,
I mean,
disgusting. Why would you do that to your patient?
I mean, look.
You're not a real doctor. You're not a real doctor.
It's definitely gross, but I don't know if I can blame Beast 100% for that when that was during Chris Claremont's like really questionable writing era, tentacle porn with Callisto, like, there was some questionable things happening at that point. So while it's disgusting and gross, I'm going to say it's more Chris Claremont's weird fetishes than Beast's fault.
In the last 5 minutes, you've given Beast credit for 2 things.
I know. What the hell? I'm playing devil's advocate here. No, I'm sorry. He's the worst. He's terrible. He's never done a good thing in his life. Emma should have skinned him, bleached him, turned him into a fur coat, and we all could have gone about our lives.
Yeah, Dylan, I hope we can time travel back to, 2000, and you can rewrite that scene where Beast is just dead, and Emma just, like, is rescued by Jean and Wolverine, and she's wearing this fabulous blue, like, coat.
Yeah, and she's just like, he drowned. I at least brought his body back, and we should do something with his fur.
He would want to be remembered this way.
Yeah, he would want to be remembered, and I'll just wear him every time we go on a mission.
But then, okay, so in that dystopian timeline, the Here Comes Tomorrow, we know he tries to get the Xavier Institute running up again after Cyclops and Emma and everyone leaves, and Xavier, he fails miserably at it.
Fail.
Shocking. And then inhales kick. When I know Wolverine says that's before we knew that was like a conduit for Sublime. But again, you should have known that, Beast. You should have known that. You're the scientist. And why does Wolverine know that and you don't? So he inhales the kick. He becomes the biblical beast. He scorches that earth. And I remember when I read this, I'm prone to bronchitis. I grew up Cuban. My abuela says I have bronchitis. So I always thought bronchitis was like a chronic condition, but apparently not. I don't know. But when he's decapitated, but right before he's decapitated, he says, I can't believe I lived this long with my asthma. I was on a plane to Pittsburgh when I read that, and I was legitimately traumatized. I thought I was going to die early because I had weak lungs. And I was like, fuck you. Fuck you for giving me a panic attack on this flight. It was like AirTran or something like that. And I literally had to get up and go to the bathroom and started hyperventilating because of that scene.
So Beast almost killed you.
Beast almost. So it's personal. So it's fucking personal.
You have been personally victimized by Hank McCoy.
Fuck Hank McCoy.
And see, in that storyline, we saw how great his fur looks white. So yes, he should have died, and Emma should have bleached him.
It would have been fabulous. Maybe in some her little fur collar on her current costume, maybe some parallel universe Emma skinned Beast and gave it to her. I don't know. We can dream.
So, to what you said earlier, Flinkman, about just kind of being devil's advocate,
I took it back.
took it back. But
I don't
I
want
was
to
thinking,
be.
I mean, like, we can sit here and like we can rag on Beast, but I was like thinking, okay, like let me give like a like kind of breakdown, like an evaluation. And Mephisto, it wasn't until I read Mephisto Versus, that series where he was talking to the X Factor team, and he looks at Hank and he's here like, "Oh, Hank, you always want to be the smart one using big language, because if you're not the smart one, who are you?" And I think that's a hallmark of the character. I think we saw that in the Hidden Years. I think there was an issue where Craven like hits him with a dart and it makes him stupid. And then we also saw what happened with Pestilence. And I think he's just so insecure of his physical appearance that the only thing he can contribute is his intellect. And that's why he wants to sort of be this hyperbolic, bombastic scientist that really doesn't know what he's talking about, but as long as he uses a jargon, people aren't going to question him.
I mean, he has nothing else. He's a fake scientist who is a hideous ape cat creature. So like, yeah, he's got to use big words to distract from the fact that he's literally nothing else.
The worst.
And I think that's why they probably write him doing these awful things, because it's him trying to be something that's beyond just the brains and beyond his physical mutation. Like, he wants to be the Scott or Jean, and every time he tries, he fails. So
my question is, there's all these hallmarks, of him being a terrible person across, 50, 60 years worth of stories at this point. Do we think this was a choice? Do you think that the creators chose to take the character in this direction? Or is this just like a series of random events that, when you add them all up, Beast is the worst?
Warpath.
I mean, if creator, I could see that could be a thing. Like, when it comes to the original 5 X-Men, like, Cyclops doesn't always fail, and he does seem to be right a lot of times. And no matter what Jean does, even if she destroys planets full of broccoli people, everyone's still gonna love her. And Iceman doesn't really do anything. And he's just...
Iceman's just on Grindr all the time now.
Yeah, he's just the gay one. And I mean, Angel, he was the perfect person that got corrupted, but then he got himself fixed. So there's just always going to be, I guess, maybe one to fail. So I guess that would make sense if that's what creators are doing, to have one of the originals just always be the one that fails.
Yeah, his douchiness really seemed to ratchet up like in the mid-aughts, like Fraction and Jason Aaron consistently wrote him as a douche. And like prior to that, I already disliked the character, but prior to that San Francisco Utopia era, it wasn't so in your face. I feel like it had to have been a choice to take. It was obviously a choice to take the character in that direction, more in the mid-aughts, but there's just been nothing to redeem him since. Like, you would think, characters like Cyclops, they're the big hero, then they have their fall from grace, and then they get to be the big hero again. And Beast has never really, he hasn't had that moment where he redeems himself. Do y'all think that that's something that could ever happen?
I think, wait, let me backpedal to your original question about, do we think it was coincidence, or is that just the way it happened? I think when Mike Martz was the X-Men's editor, I thought he did a great job with Beast. And that was like, I think that was Grant Morrison a little bit afterwards. And I just think Beast was on a path to be a very witty, fun character who may be a little eccentric. But I think Fraction did a really great job with Hawkeye, but for whatever reason, he could not have he did not nail the X-Men. It was, I don't know if it was the Greg Land art.
I think I judge every writer on how well they write the X-Men, and I agree with you, Matt Fraction. Hawkeye was great, Sex Criminals is great, but his X-Men is just the worst.
I mean, those shots of Psylocke's ass, and she's here like as you wish. I'm like, oh, like stop it! And it didn't just happen once; it was like multiple times,
As you wish.
as you wish. But do I think he's redeemable? So far, we haven't seen it. I
No.
I think Hickman could redeem him. We've seen Hickman. He can write really intelligent characters, not making normal characters sound intelligent. I mean, like characters who are supposed to be intelligent coming across as intelligent, like with Moira, Xavier, and Magneto and Emma. But I don't think he's really given Beast TLC yet.
I don't think Hickman has any interest in redeeming Beast because he's being such a douche in X-Force. Like he's being a shady douche in Dawn of X. So I don't foresee Hickman redeeming him because Hickman also is the writer who wrote him in the Illuminati and let him destroy multiple universes. So from just judging from that, I personally can't foresee him having any sort of redemption arc in Dawn of X, but I could be wrong.
To kind of go with what we're talking about now and the last question of like creators purposely doing it, I feel like that they are purposely doing it, and especially Hickman is continuing it because, I mean, why else make that line where they said, Beast, every time you do something, it might be for the greater good, but there's always a little bit of evil. So like that's the Dawn of X writers purposely still writing him to be that way. But like Dayspring was saying, if I think if anyone can try to fix Beast and make him redeemable, it's probably Hickman because I think he's done a lot for the X-Men. So hopefully if and when he decides to not be on X-Men books again, hopefully he can fix Beast before he does. Because if he doesn't, I don't think anyone else can.
So do you want Beast to sort of be redeemed?
I honestly don't. I kind of wish they would just kill Beast. There's a few X-Men that I think should take like a 18-year-long break like Jean did, and Beast is one of them.
For sure.
Wait,
because
who
he's
else?
never, correct me if I'm wrong, we haven't ever had an extended, except when he was with the Avengers, we haven't really had an extended break from Beast.
No.
He hasn't died, has he?
Not that I know, or not
No,
that I can think of.
He almost
time.
died during Bendis' run, but we all know he was just being a drama queen. Oh, and that was another thing. He fetishizes a teenage girl by putting her in a miniskirt in his mind, and then is like, "Oh, read my thoughts. I've never blocked anything from you." Like, this is a 16-year-old girl. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
He's a perv.
He's a perv.
Dayspring, to answer your question, there's really kind of only one other person that I want to take a break, and that's Betsy.
She's had a break, though. We had a decent break from her between Extreme and Uncanny.
Well,
I don't
true,
know.
but I think since they decided to fix the basic racism of her being stuck in Quanen's body, I don't think anyone knows what to do with her. And I think she just needs to go away for longer than she was dead in Extreme for a better writer to come up in the future to fix her and actually give her a good story.
I don't disagree with that necessarily. I think I've been blinded by how excited I am that she's British again. But when you mention that, yeah, like nobody has really done anything too interesting with her. Like the whole concept of her being Captain Britain is great, but like Excalibur has been one of the more questionable books to come out of Dawn of X. So on the one hand, I'm like, no, I don't. She looks so fabulous and she's so British and I love it. And I don't want her to go anywhere. But on the other hand, everything you've said is true. Someone needs, she could use a break so that someone could come up with something to do with her.
Well, and also give Psylocke some spotlight. Like, I don't feel like they know what they're doing with Psylocke either.
No, I don't think they do either. Like, I'm glad that Betsy's British again. I just don't like the fact that with Dawn of X, they're like, oh, we're going to fix Betsy and her not being Psylocke or Quanon anymore, but now we're just going to make her her brother and like just let her be herself. But it's just because Betsy and Quanon are so tied to each other, because now like everybody wants Betsy to be that fighter, but really when Betsy was that fighter and in the Asian body, she really was more Quanon than she was herself.
Yeah.
So it's like nobody knows who Betsy is.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that. We could probably have a whole special second episode about what to do with Betsy,
episode.
Brad.
Yeah, Beast is the worst. He licked Psylocke Betsy when she got back, and that's gross. And he didn't even apologize to her. He wasn't like, "Oh, I'm so sorry that Vargas killed you," and like that was partially my fault because I was on the battlefield with you.
And he didn't apologize for licking her.
No, that's gross. Because he's not a real doctor, folks. Like I don't know, like where? Just tell me, listeners. Just tell me where he got his PhD from. So, any other reasons why you guys don't like Beast?
I think, for me, I think we've covered it. You know, I ranted and raved there for probably a good 5 minutes straight. So
I'm now thinking of every time that Beast has examined someone, and there's one scene in particular. I think it was in X-Force, and it's just because I'm partial to Shatterstar. But there was one time where I think Beast was examining Shatterstar, and he was just like on a table in like basically a Speedo. And I feel like that's not uncommon for any other time that Beast has examined people. So why does he get them? Like, your machines can go through clothes. Why does everyone have to get naked? And are you licking everyone when they come in?
He's a perv.
Oh, Beast, like, Jesus. You should have gotten that PhD from Phoenix Force University. Oh, man. All right. Well, I mean, I could go on and on, like, when he was battling Cassandra Nova and she made him wipe his ass with his PhD degree. And he's like all upset about it. I'm like, that's not even a real one. You just printed that from like some random website. Photoshopped. And when he was here, like, Gene, Cassandra Nova's here. I'm like, come on, Hank, you're an X-Man. You were an Avenger. Like, you got to take this bitch on. I don't know. Here's my qualm with him, and this sort of encapsulates why I hate him. He's supposed to be the smart character, but as is always the case, we see this with Sailor Mercury as well from Sailor Moon. The smart one doesn't necessarily act like the smart one. They're not ahead of the plot. They're not the ones who are digesting the information. They're just going along with the ride, and it's someone else who solves the problem.
Yeah, and if that other person can't solve it, then they're like, "Oh, Beast, Sailor Mercury, can you figure this out?" Because literally the rest of the team can't, so now we're going to ask you.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's why we hate Beast. And listeners, we encourage you to follow us on Generations of X or email us at generationsofx@gmail.com to tell us why you think Beast is the worst. Or you can be in his favor. You can be opposing counsel. Like, I'm open to hearing why you like Beast.
I would love for someone to send us a rebuttal about why Beast is the best. If you send us a well thought out rebuttal about why Beast is not the worst, I will read it word for word in the next episode.
Yes,
but I don't think anyone can do it. I don't.
If you don't read it in the next episode, I at least want CC'd on this email so I can read it.
We're going to loop you in. Warpath, where can the folks at home find you?
Everybody can find my podcast on anywhere podcasts are. You just look up House of X podcast, and you could also join my Facebook group that's called House of X as well.
Yeah, and you do spotlights, you do reviews, you guys have a conversation, and you're just fanning around, and it's a great podcast.
Fanning around.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you for being with us today. I am the Uncanny Dayspring.
And I am the Adjectiveless Flinkman.
And we'll see you all next week.
Peace out.
Bye.